I thought you fixed the thing on the bottom. It's a big ass record button.
Oh yeah, no, it'll work.
Why didn't you just push that one? It's a big ass one rather than going like.
I don't know.
It's fucking annoying.
We got the big stand out today.
It was that last time.
Oh well, yeah, but I didn't have the big ass. I didn't have the attachment to the plug to the camera, and I did not have the mic.
You said that you can now see yourself when you record yourself.
Right.
We're doing that right now.
Yes, but not when I didn't have the mic on top.
Oh.
Because it obstructed it. So
now it comes off to the side?
Now it still plugs in. You can still hear from the mic, but now it doesn't cover up the screen, so I can see my face. If I was recording myself, I can hold the gimbal up and then record my face. So.
But that's heavy.
It is heavy, yeah. But
it's trash.
I mean, I'm not a weakling, so I can hold it to my face. I can educate myself properly because this topic today is education in America. Yeah.
Trash.
The U.S.
Trash.
Well,
trash.
We'll get into it. There's positives and there's obviously negatives. There's both.
Honestly, there's not a lot of positives.
We'll talk about it. We'll see what
Get into it.
We'll get into that. Yeah, we'll get into that. So, I mean, to start off early on, I remember my first memories of being in grade school.
Did you ever go to public school?
No, I never went.
You never went to public school?
No, I've always gone to private school. Yeah, so for many that don't know, I went to private school my entire life besides college. So I was always wearing a uniform. I was always, we're always dressed the same. We're always doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a lot of diversity. Of course, obviously being in a private school, there's going to be less people of color. Obviously being in San Antonio,
a lot more Hispanics.
There's a lot more Hispanics. So there's a lot of Hispanics.
A lot of those Hispanics and whites.
Oh yeah, Hispanics and whites primarily. Not a lot of African American people. Not a lot of Asian people. I mean, this is just, from what I saw. This is how it was in San Antonio, Texas. So
considering the grades where you went to middle school and stuff, it's a different side of town, so there's a lot more Hispanics.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I also think. Obviously it's private school, so you weren't specifically
But then again, it was a different tier of private school because my private school had a lot more white people than we did have Mexican. A lot more white and Mexicans rather than y'all had a lot.
Well, you also have to think about where the school was located.
That's what I'm saying. That's why your school it kind of changes throughout.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, location definitely makes a difference.
Of town.
Yeah. So I was a little bit closer, I want to say, to downtown area. Not really. Anyways, besides the point. It was in a different area.
Yeah.
Obviously, the more up north you move, the more white segregated area. Yeah, you're gonna have more white students. But overall, we were all dressed the same. We wore the same thing. We were always taught the same thing. Everything was very standardized. And my earliest memories of being in grade school, in private school, was that, you work all day. I mean, you're at school all day.
Right.
You go to practice, and then you got to do homework. Mm. And that was pretty much it. I mean, especially in middle school, when middle school sports was a big thing, yeah. And then on the weekends you're playing, you're playing tournaments. But yeah, there wasn't a lot of free time for myself. Not a lot of time for play. There's not a lot of time for, being out with friends.
Our lives were a little bit different than most because
and I'm commenting on mine because obviously I was invested in sports.
But my life is pretty similar to yours.
Yeah, I was heavily invested in sports, but even then, with the amount of homework that we had and all those sorts of things, there wasn't really much time for play. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
I mean, my parents were a little off on that. I think looking back on it, my dad would always be like, "Yo, we're gonna go. You have practice. If you have homework, you do it later. If we have time." My dad would always tell me that.
Oh shit! No, I would always get my homework done first, bro.
Yeah, bro. My parents. Well, not my mom. My dad would do that.
Yeah.
I'd say we have practice. You have a game. You do that. You can do it later.
That's wild.
He was a pretty big advocate. If I didn't have something done, I just wouldn't go to school.
What do you mean?
If I had a homework or an assignment due, let's say we had a week, something that was due on a Monday, a project, something, especially when I was in middle school, and I didn't have it done because I was playing or we were out of town or we got back late on Sunday, I just didn't go to school.
So and you just skipped submitting that assignment?
Yeah, so that I could get another day to do it.
Holy shit. That's wild. No, I always made sure to get my shit done. That was regardless if I had a game, my mom, especially my mom, would get on my ass for not submitting, homework and that sort of shit. Yeah. And that's partly because of obviously my brother was always invested in education in school and brainiac. Yeah, he was brainiac, so he's always getting his homework and shit done. Me on the other hand, I was dealing with sports, but I wanted, my parents wanted me to uphold that same standard of being good at school too. That never happened. So that never happened.
I mean, you have to realize that everybody's different.
Correct. But that's where this problem lies with school. Yeah. Because everything is so generalized and so standardized. And
it's worse, man. It's worse in public school. You've never been to public school?
I've never been to public school.
I went to public school for 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Where'd you go?
4th and 5th grade at Thousand Oaks Elementary.
I had no idea.
It's like in MacArthur's district.
Okay.
When we lived over there. But like I remember from going from like private school to public school to private school, it's such a big difference, bro.
Really?
Like the facilities and like everything, it's just so like run down, like old and like poor and like it's not the same.
Yeah.
That's why I think like private education is so much better, dude, because public education
I agree with that.
There are some nice public schools, but mostly they're high schools, bro, because a lot of the middle schools and like elementary schools, like public, don't get renovated. Like they don't get like...
No.
They're really
that's another problem is that they lack government
like
funding.
Me just like thinking about it, like I'm thinking about it, and like we were in portables and like it was just like everything wasn't nice, like it was just like
kind of run down.
I kind of have like I'm like thinking about it, I'm like that was rough, that was tough.
Yeah, but you didn't think much of it when you were a kid.
I mean, yeah, you're in like 4th grade, you don't think about it, you're just there like your friends,
right?
Yeah, but like,
I didn't know that. But
it's a lot different than like when I would go to St. Matthew's. It's like completely like different thing.
Sure.
Like it's insane.
Yeah.
It's a complete flip.
Yeah. So I think that's another issue that we need to talk about as well, is that the fact that, a lot of the funding for schools in general from the government have been decreasing. Right. Or just stayed maintenance pretty much. They haven't gotten the funding that they need. They haven't changed at all. They're not being fixed up, especially in lower class income areas, of course.
That wasn't a real bad area. It was an older side of town, but I can only imagine like if you go to like the south side or like downtown, how much worse it is.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's a whole other issue. That's a whole other issue,
yeah.
But I mean, in general,
it still plays into the topic.
Absolutely. But yeah, in general, like that was just. I remembered this. I always felt like I didn't feel individualized or independent at that time. I kind of felt a part of a big crowd. You don't stand out on what you want to do. You don't stand out on your own thing. You're doing everything the exact same as everybody else. Yeah. You're being taught the same. You're being given the same homework. You're giving, the same SAT, the same, not SAT, but in middle school at least, but the same standardized exams. We didn't have what was it, stars or
we didn't. I took when I was in whatever it's called. When I went to whatever fucking Thousand Oaks, we had to take the tax test.
Okay, see, we didn't, but it's still standardized exams. Yeah. And if you didn't score well on it, like, a lot
to be honest, I don't even know. Like a lot of times, like you take the test, like, and I just didn't. Like I didn't give a shit.
I felt the same way because I just was not good at standardized exams. Yeah, all the way up to college level, like with my SAT, with the HSPT, which is the high school placement test, standardized exams every year that you had, in grade school. I never did well on them, and
bro, I would, dude, when we used to take the PSATs at Central, like before you I wouldn't do them. I would fall asleep. I would legit put my head down and go to sleep. I wouldn't take the fucking test. And then like they'd be like 20 minutes, and I would just be like, just like filling in, not looking at the questions, just fucking filling in questions. Bro.
That's a whole different thing. But I mean, like
same concept though.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have like that grasp of like something that's pulling you into something that may be interesting to you.
Yeah.
And that was the same for me too. Maybe not to that extent, but yes, the same way. Like I would read these questions and try to determine answers, and obviously like the brainiacs of the class that were really good at books and book smart people, like of course they were gonna do well. My brother couldn't. I always compared to myself to my brother, but the dude never had to study for an exam.
Yeah, did miss
all throughout grade school, high school for the most part.
Yeah.
Never studied for SAT, PSAT, whatever, and scored top of his class, and that's great. I mean, he's doing really well now. It's fine, but it was that idea that like, holy shit, if you don't do well in it, well, fuck, you suck.
Yeah, your life's over. Like you're not
going to amount to much. Like you need to start study more, and it got to the point where I failed my SAT so bad, like my parents dished out, or my grandparents dished out like $2 or $3 grand for an SAT prep tutor course over the summer. And I spent hours there, bro. I spent hours there.
That sucks.
And I raised my score like 400 points and it got a slightly above average SAT score, but I ended up going to community college anyways. You know, I just didn't have the grades to get into University of Texas at San Antonio at the time. Like, and that wasn't even because I wasn't smart. It's just like I devoted so much more time and effort to things I cared about, aka baseball.
Yeah.
Like playing sports, like making music. I was always, you know, I was like in a high school band. I was playing guitar and learning guitar, like things I wanted to do, you know, playing video games and shit.
But like this frowned upon.
And it was frowned upon. You know, like what are you doing? You're like, why? Like, yeah, you would be like praised, like, oh man, you're so good at that. But you know, make sure you're studying, make sure you're reading your books and you know, doing your schoolwork.
Yeah, but it's like it doesn't matter.
But that's the thing. It's so, you know, it's put on a pedestal for a lot of kids. And, you know, I feel like that education system and that vibe of being in school all day and having homework and doing all those sorts of things is almost like
it's counterproductive.
Sure, yeah, counterproductive, but it almost emulates the idea of being like in a corporate job and working overtime.
And honestly, I didn't realize that until you told me that. You get to work at 8:00 and you clock out at 4. 8 to 4. Right. And then you're gonna have homework, so you got to work overtime with no extra benefits. And if you don't do it, then you're screwed.
Right. And it's I
didn't think about that.
It's very predicated on a very societal norm of how life should be lived.
How it just feeds into like.
Correct. It all adds up.
You get an hour for lunch or whatever.
The only thing I don't agree, like the only thing that doesn't really, you know, isn't the same as college. Of course, like when you have like
it's pretty open.
It's pretty open. You know, and I do enjoy that aspect because. You do learn time management and you do learn how to prioritize your time for your studies. You know, of course, it's college. Like, you've got to prioritize studies. But when you are in grade school and you are in high school, like, yeah, you're there. I mean, especially if you're playing sports, you're there even earlier doing, you know, especially
workouts or whatever.
Right. Workouts, cross country, you're running. Like, you're there early and you stay late.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And the majority of the day is spent in class. And you're sitting down and you're working. That's it. There's not really a large margin for your ability to channel any sort of creativity or imagination or do something that you thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing schoolwork, you know?
Yeah. That's kind of, dude, that's like my thing on like, and I think we've talked about this before, is like reading and like, that's why books and like reading is such a, like for kids and it's like, especially for our generation is like, people like I think a lot more people like our age now are realizing that there's like some good books out there because I see a lot of people that read.
I'm in the
a lot of
exact
people
same
read,
spot.
And I didn't read that much when I was younger because I thought it was fucking stupid because our education system picks these shitty ass books, and I think we've talked about this, and they make you read them, and it tarnishes your whole ideology of like reading.
I mean,
it's
just the
sucks.
Same thing with just
you associate high school with reading. You're like, fuck, I don't want to read any books.
Yeah, no, it fucking sucks. It's trash, and you don't open up your mind to very creative, imaginative books.
But then, like, you get older and you realize, like, holy shit, this book's like really fucking good. Like, there's really good books out there. Like, why doesn't the education system give you the chance to read something that actually interests you?
It's not part of the curriculum.
Yeah, like what the fuck? Like,
and that's why I was telling you, like the problems with the Common Core curriculum, like that standardized the CCC Common Core curriculum that was emphasized in 2009 has not changed.
No, it's the same.
It's the same.
And I bet you whatever was in place before this CCC thing was probably no different than what we. It probably just minor changes.
You know, minor changes. Yeah, sure. But that's what the name of it that was given.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately, like. Yeah, you're going to have kids that are fucking bored out of their minds.
Yeah.
They're not going to do well in school.
Like, think about it. If you gave a kid an option to read a book that he actually cared about and then required him to write an essay or a report on it.
Sure.
Don't you think the quality of work would be like so much higher if it was something that they actually cared about?
Yeah. I mean, you saw that comment from our buddy. He was saying like whenever he did his project on I think it was like a football story. I think it was or a movie or something. I forgot what he commented. I know he's gonna watch it, but so he was saying like this was the highest grade I ever got on anything I've ever done in this English class because I thoroughly enjoyed watching this movie or reading the book, and I cared
about it,
and I blew that assignment out of the water.
Right,
and it was like, well, out of the water. Yeah,
but that's my point. It's like if you were to give these kids actually something to write, like that they would actually give a shit about, it would their all improvement would. You'd actually get them to invest into the education rather than like giving them a topic they don't give two shits about.
Right.
them, not reading the book, and then you asking them to give a detailed and super in-depth essay or response to a story that they didn't give a fuck about and didn't even read. So what do you expect?
Why do you think summer reading never gets done?
Like, because those books suck.
Exactly. That's my point.
It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what are you expecting these kids to want to do?
Right.
They don't give a shit about Shakespeare.
Yeah, and that goes all the way towards like the type of classes you take. Like, I mean, you think about geometry. Mm-hmm. You think about what.
Like trig
trigonometry. Like trig and algebra and those sorts of things.
I haven't looked at algebra.
And you have to think about the small percentage of people that actually do use that.
Ooh, accountants?
Maybe. And even then they have tools.
They have calculators. No accountant doesn't use a program that calculates it.
That's my thing. So you have tools to research and learn these things.
Honestly, so I used to date somebody who majored in accounting, right, and data analytics.
Yeah,
my ex-girlfriend, right? They had, this is in college. She was taking all these fucking classes and shit, and they had programs that there's a lot more that goes into it, obviously, but like the basic math and shit that you're taught, and like it's like you need to know this and this. Even when you get to college and you get to right before you get to getting that degree for that profession, they have programs and things that do it for you.
Right. Resources.
Why are we so
technologically
adamant?
Resources?
Why are we so adamant on doing all this shit beforehand that doesn't even matter? Yeah. It doesn't matter at all.
We have the programs. We have the software.
These are people that are like getting their masters and getting their degrees, and they're giving you here's a tool to help you.
Yeah.
But then like it's frowned upon using that years before.
Yeah. And I was showing that same thing in like Japan and Finland and those things. Like I think Japan, more so than any other country, predicates their teachings on using technological resources and applying it to solving a problem.
Yes.
More so than just memorizing something a week prior, dumping it on paper, and then getting your grade. You don't learn anything.
Think about it. Even like for like if you don't understand something in college, even in high school, if like let's say you're studying for a test and maybe you miss something or your teacher didn't teach you right or you miss something, what's the first thing you do? Fucking Google.
Yeah, you look it up. It's there.
And you teach yourself.
You have it. Even in any other sort of job you're working for,
that's something
you're gonna have your computer.
That's something that I have a problem for. I have a problem with right now is all these people with the pandemic going on and all this shit. They're like, no, I'm serious. They're like they can't learn at home. Like they're not learning anything.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, half of my college career was spent on fucking Google teaching myself shit.
Yeah.
Because I was gone. I missed class.
Yeah.
All the time, so I didn't get lectures. So I was Googling shit all the time.
Not to mention the fact that whenever you're sitting in a class and for people that are audio listeners or whatever, like
taking online class.
But that's the only way you're really taught within a classroom setting. Like you're watching these things being presented on a board and you're listening to a person lecture to it, and that's it.
It doesn't carry on beyond that.
No, it does not. And it's very, very small. Like obviously if you're like within science and chemistry and working with, different sorts of, chemicals of that sort, obviously it's more hands-on, learning. But even within, how often would you say within grade school or middle school, high school, like would you be thoroughly involved in like doing something and learning while you're doing it, like hands-on? How often would you say percentage-wise?
5%.
5 to 10%, right? Like not a very large scale. Most of it is spent within the classroom listening to a lecture.
I think that would help if teachers were compensated better and they were cared for more.
That's the thing.
Because if they gave a shit, like if just by knowing teachers,
and it's not the teacher's fault because they have to follow this sort of curriculum.
But they go by the curriculum. But like, think about it. Like, it's the same concept with the company I work for now. They don't give two shits about you, right? And you're not compensated well. You don't have any fucking benefits. Like, you don't. We treat you like shit.
You're getting paid less than the household
nothing,
minimum.
Right?
Yeah.
Why would you care?
Yeah.
Why would you care? Yep. It's the same concept for teachers.
You're going through
Why
the
would you care? You're going to go through the motions, teach them what you have to teach them, and that's it.
Yeah.
There are a few, awesome people out there that do go beyond because they just love to teach. That's cool.
Yeah, that's
but like vast majority, especially in public, schools,
they're just trying to make a wage.
They don't care. They're just there to teach you. Like we've seen it. Even the few teachers that we had in private school.
And it says here, even on this research, here online, it says that they've salaries have decreased steadily over the years.
Oh yeah, that's the whole thing now. Is like now they're expecting you to return to work.
Yeah.
In harsh and like scary environments.
Sure.
Well, not with everything going on.
Correct.
Like, and they're not going to compensate you any different?
No.
Why would they go?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
like it's the same concept.
Yeah, and it applies everywhere. You know, it's just this ongoing like issue that you can really just trace everything back to. It's like, well, this is fucked up because this is fucked up and this is fucked up.
Just everything.
People aren't getting paid compensated, and they're following this set education system, and this is how much funding is going into this. So no shit, all this other stuff's not going to change. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, like just in general, like we don't really prioritize what students want to do.
No.
And
it's never been about that.
No, never. And I never remember it being like that ever. I always thought that school was never going to be for me because I never fit in.
Well, I think that I mean, school's for some people and it's not for others.
Right. But for just in general, kids that just like you hear about like this the common story about how like this kid would fail in class and ended up becoming this major billionaire person, like
more like artists or whatever.
Right. You think about these people, it's like, well, yeah, I fucked up in school all the time. I was doing other stuff that I actually cared about. Yeah. I was prioritizing my time.
But at the time, now those people are like, oh my god, this kid is amazing. He's great. Look at him. But like beforehand, how are you treated? Like while you were at school?
Exactly.
You're a failure.
You're a failure. Like,
you keep yourself. I'm serious, man. I'm sure he was told that. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right. I mean, like that's the thing, and unfortunately, like it's continues to carry on today. And when does that change? I mean, what would it take for something like that to actually be changed?
I think we're going through a lot of different changes right now, man.
Well,
a lot. I think, especially at this time right now, a lot of things are about to change within the next 2 weeks.
Well, now you're saying that things can be taught online.
Things are going to get insane.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much for kiddos. I mean, yeah. I sympathize for parents. Obviously, I'm not a parent, but sympathize for parents that have to teach their kiddos 4, 5, 6-year-old kids
while they have to work and all that.
While they have to, now that's a very, very tough thing to do. So yeah, it is very hard to know what's going on. But even then, like students have been doing quote unquote less work, homework, learning virtually, and parents have noticed that they've been much happier. Because they've had a little bit more time doing things that they actually want to do. I think
St. Matthew's, when my sister was still there in like 8th grade, maybe. Mm-hmm. Bro, they implemented every student getting an iPad.
Yeah.
And like all their work is done through the fucking iPad. They were digital learning, just kind of like half and half almost. Mm-hmm. This was years ago. Yeah. 5 years ago. Like
I remember when she got that iPad.
Yeah, we're like digitally like we were implementing this already. So now people are freaking out and I'm just like,
yeah.
It's no different than if that's the case, then why is college education held to such a high standard and half that shit's online anyway?
Right.
Exams are online, homework's online, everything is online. Everything so it's like why online. You go to class for like 5 minutes, get to explain the assignment, and then you leave after 10, 20 minutes. Yeah. Like,
yeah, and not to mention the fact that
why
the majority of the time, whenever you're sitting in class and you're absorbing information or trying to absorb information,
you know how many people, if you go to anyone who's been to college knows that if you're in a lecture and you're in the back of the class and you can look around at everybody, no one's fucking listening.
Yeah.
Everyone is doing something else.
Yep.
Because guess what?
I would see people, and in fact, I would see people like text each other on the computer. Yeah. They would text people. I would see people with the earphone in watching
watching
Netflix.
Or just shopping or like
shopping.
Doing something else.
The amount of people shopping was a big one, bro.
I used to do that. I used to shop.
Everybody used to shop.
I used to shop. But think about it. Because then guess what? Because they don't give a shit. Because guess what? If they have questions or they need to study for the test tomorrow or whenever it is, just go to Google and you can find the answers and you just study it.
Yeah, because the idea of being able to teach yourself the way you know how to be taught yourself, getting involved in ways and methods of you learning information is much better than just sitting there.
Rather than one guy just going, all right, here it is, here it is, here it is, here it is. Take notes. Did you get that? Okay,
not to mention the fact that the PowerPoints that they use to teach the class is automatically uploaded online. So
so you're just like, what the fuck am I here for?
Or they're just reading off the PowerPoint to begin with. So it's like, bro, you're insulting my intelligence from just reading from the PowerPoint and skipping the next slide. It's like, bro, how is that any?
That's why I've never understood.
And that's not just college, man. That's
in high school. Bro.
That goes high school, middle school.
I'm just like, what the fuck is this, man? Like, but then they're worried that their kids aren't learning anything. But it's like, just because you send your kid to somewhere like a building,
is it actually education?
Are they really
at that point?
Education?
Are you like, becoming educated? Like,
just because you're
getting real world experience in this?
Yeah, it's just because you're doing this just because you're doing the same thing. What the hell? I've never talked to that person. Anyway, it's like, why would, just because you send your kid to another building, but he's going to do the same thing he's doing there at home, it doesn't, like, nothing changes.
Yep.
I've never understood.
Yep.
Like, why people are freaking out now.
Yeah. I mean, you could really go down a huge rabbit hole of different issues that, you know, and it all really just goes back on the idea that it's just everyone is so standardized, and the education is so standardized, and it's just there is one method and one method only of teaching hundreds of thousands of students in a, like, you can look back in the 30s and 40s, 20s, like the classroom setup is the same. It has not changed. You have not moved seats around. You have not created collaborative areas of places to sit down. The classroom setting is the exact same. You got your rows and you got your chairs, and it's been that way since the 20s. Like, forever.
I bet if I went back to Thousand Oaks today, it'd be the same way it was.
No question. I thoroughly believe that. But, you know, and I've seen a few pictures from my school back at St. Gregory's, and I think there's been one classroom that's changed, and they started to put couches in there. They started to put like chairs in a circle so that, like, in one area of the classroom over here, rather than just desks lined up, they have chairs, couches, you know, comfortable seating areas with like a list of good books, whatever it is, you know.
I know for a fact, like, St. Matthew's doesn't change. It's the exact same.
Yeah.
The exact same. No different.
It's like, what are we doing? Like,
they've made some renovations, but the, like, education part of it, just,
right?
Like, classrooms look the same.
Yeah.
They've gated it and they built that message in.
But think about how much you are thoroughly taking away from students learning a particular way and expanding their creative and you know, their mind.
I know that for a fact because I was like, me and you are both people that aren't just gonna like read and get it.
Yeah.
Like you need to understand there's kids that aren't gonna learn that way.
Right. And I will be first to say that even with that throughout school, man, I had such a hard time.
Yeah.
Picking up information, learning information. If it wasn't something I wasn't thoroughly invested in, and or if it was just
you know, you get those like few subjects
and topics,
or like
okay,
those one test.
Cool.
You're like, oh, yeah, I got it because it interested me, and I just like picked it up and I got a grade on the exam. But there's some shit you're just like, fuck, I do not get.
Like,
this.
How am I supposed to sit an hour or 2 hours in lecture, sitting there just taking notes? It's hard.
Any good.
It's hard, and I don't learn that way. I don't learn that way.
Well, I don't say it a lot of people, but then like, if you're gonna hold everybody to that same standard, then don't give them shit when they don't get it.
Correct.
Like,
that's my problem.
Yeah,
that is my problem to the core. Like, if you thoroughly want to continue to teach this way, and create the classroom environment to be this particular way, how can you be, you know, so naive to think that, you know what, you're an idiot for not fucking learning this, or like, you got a bad grade on this. This is where you're at now. You need to fix your life now because you're fucking it up. It's like,
yeah, just like,
and we're taught that at such a young age. So not only is that a bad, you know, thing for the student, but, you know, now you start to create this environment for a student to act a certain way, to learn a certain way.
You get discouraged. Yeah, they don't want to.
They're very discouraged. They're stressed out. They're anxious. They're depressed. They're sad. And you're trying to mold this student to be someone they're not, and learn a particular way that they don't know how to learn. And it's just like, we understand, I know as a nation, we understand that people are different. We accept it all the time. Everyone's different. You always hear that. But when it comes to learning and education.
That's just a cliche thing that people say.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean
sure.
anything.
I mean, you're probably right. But like, when you hear that over and over again, and you see the classroom setting, the highest place you learn education and you become educated, like, and that has not changed at all, and you are applying the same teaching system to thousands of students, like, how are you benefiting these kids that learn a different way? Just
because it's easy, and if they fail, they fail. Whatever, we're on to the next. That's how we see it.
Or if they give money, they just, you pass. Go ahead. Well, I'll give you this extra credit. You're good. Next grade.
Yeah.
But shit, I mean, yeah, it's like,
I don't know, man. It's what's scary is the fact that when you pointed out that our education system is like very close to a 9-to-5 job, because that just means that they're just trying to feed this machine of corporations and everybody working for everybody else, and it's just like,
I mean, you can look at other countries and their work days, their school days are 4 or 5 hours long.
I think we're doing a little bit better with that, or we were before all this other shit happened.
I mean, there's a few things changing here and there, but overall, like, it's still the same.
Yeah, it's
still the same. Not much has changed.
It's still the same concept, but
you can see like countries like Finland, like I was telling you earlier, like they have like 3 to 4 hour school days. Yeah. And have maybe 2 to 3 hours of homework a week.
Because like, and it's kind of like the thing. I mean, everyone's heard that the concept is like cramming doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's the same concept. You're gonna keep a kid in school and expect him to like sit and really focus for 8 hours.
Yeah. A kid.
It's very hard to get them to even focus for like an hour.
Yeah.
That's why it's like people are like, you can only study for like an hour, then you really need a break. Like scientifically, it's been proven that you can only study for, like really give your absolute focus for like an hour.
Yeah.
And then you need like 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of a break.
How
and
often
then you
do we have actual breaks in school? Except for maybe lunch. Not to mention the fact lunch has slowly decreased in time, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're cramming it in.
You're cramming lunches in. They used to be an hour long. Now they're what, 40, 30, 25 minutes?
It was like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It's tough.
And the same with playtime. Like you think about kids going out to the playground, like this, there have been scientific studies showing that kids that go out and play and exercise and socialize with other kids and climb around trees and do, play around, like they develop parts of their brain.
Yeah.
And that increases their amount of intelligence. Like that is a proven thing. Like where they, if they're doing this play stuff and they're going around and, whatever, like that develops that part of the brain. But now we look at the playtime for kids now, and that has been reduced as well. And it doesn't even help with this whole pandemic issue going on. I mean, like it's harder for kids to go out and play now.
with time, the times that are changing and the technologies that we have is like a lot of kids don't go out and play anymore.
True, that's also a factor as well.
Yeah, everyone's afraid that it's not safe outside to like run. Like my sister like won't go run outside because she's afraid. And I'm like part of me is like, come on, but like some of it's like, I get it. Like it's crazy out there.
Sure.
So I mean, kids don't go out and play that much anymore for a variety of different reasons.
Yeah.
It's a different time.
Sure. Yeah, I do agree with that. But even when we were kids, like I feel like recess and all that sort of thing was it started to reduce.
Necessary. It was necessary. It's necessary, especially for kids, bro. Like if you're in middle school, maybe a little less. I mean, before that, you need to go out and play and have like free time. Yeah. Where you're not sitting at a desk and listening to somebody talk about a fucking book or math. It's like, bro, fuck all that.
Yeah.
Like
it's hard.
That blows my mind that they're taking that away. But I mean, dude, our education system is fucked.
Yeah, there's a lot of different issues, and honestly, I think it really just starts with being able to fund, teachers.
You fund it correctly, like
if they were getting paid enough, you care enough.
Exactly, it's no different than any other job, man. Like I don't give one fuck about my job for multiple reasons. Yeah, they don't compensate me, and they don't give a shit. So why the fuck do I care? It's the same concept with anybody who goes through that feeling. Granted, you're dealing with kids and like our future, quote unquote, but like is that enough?
You take a big part of an opportunity for them to excel at something.
Yeah,
and that fucks up a lot of things for kids, and it leaves them, becoming a certain way or doing a certain thing, or not giving a shit about anything at that point, because like, why should I if I don't give a shit about this, like obviously everything else is gonna fail. You told me I've done this and I shouldn't do it.
That if I don't get good grades now, I won't be successful. So if I'm not good now, then what the fuck do I care for?
It's the typical doodling in class story. Like, this teacher said I'm gonna be a fuck up because I was doodling in class. Now I'm a fucking artist. Like, it's the same thing. Like, it's the same fuck. And like you said, later on, the teachers praise the students. Oh, we got to break the norm, and it's okay to break the rules. But like,
no, it's not. It's never okay. They say that just because they got it wrong.
Albert Einstein never went to school, or whatever it is. Like, not actually Albert Einstein.
You can look at plenty of like, I mean, musicians may be different. Like, I mean, like actors and like stuff like that didn't finish, but they're brilliant people. They just didn't excel at a fucking school.
Yeah.
So at the time, people were like, "Oh, this guy's a failure," blah blah blah. But then they go on and do these great things, and everybody's like, "I knew he was great back in the day." It's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, like, you hear it all the time. I was watching this video on Graham Stephan. He was saying that like he was fucking failing. He flunked out of high school because he was busy doing other shit, that was actually making him money and learning about the business he was getting at that time.
Yeah.
And his grades started to suffer. He stopped going to like class because he was so preoccupied doing this one thing. Multi-millionaire.
Talk about Gary Vee. He knew he sucked at school and didn't give a fuck. Didn't care.
Yeah.
Didn't care.
And he's a huge advocate for students taking initiative and not always going to college, but building something.
Yeah, but like if it's for, he knows if it's for you, if you want to do something, yeah, you're gonna have to go. But the cool thing with him is that he had, you know, he talks about his parents and how his brother was really smart in school and would bring home A's, and they would you know, compensate him whatever.
But
But he'd come home and bring home C's, but like they knew the difference in the kid. Like, and they knew a C or a B was like good for him, so they would compensate him. But like a lot of parents don't see that. Like that was kind of my thing. Is like my brother and my sister are really smart. My brother didn't go to school. Like school just wasn't for him. He's just smart, but it wasn't it. My sister's really smart. You know, 4.0 honor society, all that shit. And like even then, when I was in high school, like my brother was only 4 years younger than me, and he was getting honor society and making straight A's. Like that would come down on me. Like your brother's making your sister make all these good grades. Like, what happened to you? And I'm just like, but like that's just not me. Yeah. But like society, and I'm not, you know, clowning my parents or anything, because like that's just like how they thought. But like
same my parents.
The same concept. It's just like why aren't you doing that? Like he's bringing home straight A's and you're bringing home, you know, C's and B's. It's like what the fuck. Yeah. And I'm trying. I'm not getting, like, what the hell you want me to do? Like I'm trying.
You're not invested in the information.
Yeah, it's like
I was the same way.
Like I think parents and like educators need to know that like not every kid's gonna, just because he's not bringing home, just because he didn't get every step on that algebra problem doesn't mean that he's like stupid.
Yeah. Not to mention the fact that like when you do have a student like you or myself, like whenever I did try to get a good grade or study for like the certification and all that sort of thing, I realized I had to put in 2 or 3 times the amount of effort and time studying this information. And that takes up lots of my time to be doing things that I thoroughly enjoy doing, like, you know, things that could de-stress me, or go to the gym, or, you know, at this age, obviously. But when I'm a kid, younger, like when you're busy with extracurriculars and you want to hang out with friends and you want to play video games, you want to play sports, like that cuts into the time that could otherwise be using to study, because that took me 2 or 3 times more effort and time to study for earning a slightly lower grade than somebody that wouldn't study at all, like my brother. Like, just would get it.
Kind of playing devil's advocate. The flip side of that is a lot of kids feel pressured, and so there's the kids that don't give a fuck and they just say whatever, I don't give a shit. Then there's the ones that are pressured into doing other shit and they start cheating. And like I know when you read, if you ever get a chance to read David Goggins' book, he talks about it. He's like, I was dyslexic, but like back then, of course, education was way different back then when he was younger, and you know he just started cheating. I
didn't know that.
Just because he knew that he needed good grades to be because he wanted to go in the Army and all that stuff, and the Marines. You have to get good grades. You have to pass the ASVAB test and all that stuff. So he would cheat.
Shit, it's wild, man.
It's crazy like that, but that's what this education system is driving kids to do. Like, because they're thinking like, I'm gonna be a failure, so I have to figure something out.
Yeah,
start cheating.
It's like the same thing with like those kids that used Apple Watches in class. I mean, dude, Apple Watches got implemented. Yeah,
because you can put pictures on there.
I mean, remember in high school how often like kids would cheat?
I'd have my phone. I would.
Damn, I cheat.
I would cheat.
Remember
all the
when
time.
I got cheated? I cheated on the geometry exam.
Yes,
the final exam.
Bro, but the crazy thing is you're the only one that got caught.
But everyone else was cheating.
I think I'm legitimately serious.
100%.
Every single person in that class was doing the same thing that you were.
Oh, no question. Because I remember when she took my exam.
Everyone went like
everyone put it in, bro. And dude, that was.
But it's like. But like, dude, like everyone cheated. Like, and that's the crazy thing is like people are like, oh, they're not gonna learn anything. It's like they're fucking cheating now.
Yeah,
we're all cheating. You know how many times like
you had to pull out your phone.
Papers would get passed around, bro. And this people don't think it happens in college, bro. This happened in college.
No
I would take like, and this for athletes is different. Like, and I took a world history class. There was this really smart kid that played, and he sat next to me. It was just funny because it was like me, then him, and I think Rios was on the other side. And I was taking the test, and the teacher just passed out the exam, and he just sat and read the newspaper at the front. I took his whole Scantron and copied the fucking entire Scantron. And his Scantron went to every baseball player in the class.
Oh my God. That is wild.
And it's just like, this happens everywhere.
Yeah. No, yeah.
So like, is your like full-on education, is it really working?
Yeah.
Because if they're failing...
If it was working, you wouldn't be cheating.
If they're failing, they're going to give up. And if they're failing and they want to be successful, they're going to find a way to pass, even by that they don't get the curriculum.
Yeah.
And it's stupid because, honestly, they don't have to learn it. They just have to show you that they get it for that moment, and then it's gone anyway. So.
Yeah, and you get the paper, and that's it. You forget about all the time you cheated.
Sure. I don't have to learn. I have to show you that I get it.
Yep, that's it.
We're square.
Yep, you're good to go. All right, you got this. Boom, cool. Take a picture of your diploma, send it to me. All right, you're good. They don't care about your grades, bro.
No, they don't give a shit, dude. It's stupid.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, you make a really good point. I mean, it just there are really a lot of flaws.
There are a lot of flaws in our
There
system.
are a lot of flaws.
And I think they're getting brought to light. I mean, I think teachers are exposing them, especially with their situation now. And, but you know,
yeah, and it's important.
Hopefully, we fix it and get it squared away so we can actually have a solid education system.
Yeah, I agree.
In our country, but
I think that I wanted to bring this topic to light because I think you and I are very similar in the way that we went through school and dealt with getting educated and learning, because I always struggled. I had always struggled in school. And it wasn't because I was dumb, but it was because
you just didn't get it, man.
I didn't get it, and I just wasn't invested in
even in high school. It was never like, and it got to the point where it was like, I'm not even trying to like get good grades. I just want to keep my averages good enough to where I can play.
Yep.
And that's how it is in college for athletes too. It's like, I don't give a shit if I do good. I just need to be able to play.
Yep. And when I was in community college, like, I remember I never went out, and that was part of the reason I didn't drink either. But I never went out. I didn't make a lot of friends in community college. Just really didn't get invested in extracurriculars or whatever would have it. But it was mostly, and I lived at home, so all I really did was just fucking study because I wanted to go to UT. So, you know, my grades were good. They were so good. But it was only because of that main reason. Like, I didn't have a lot of friends there. I didn't do anything else. So most of my time was spent studying. And I had to spend hours studying for community college work, which should be deemed relatively easy, you know, but no, that wasn't the case, you know, especially for me. Like it was, and I'm very, 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 you know, passionate about this topic. And I always said earlier, like, when I wanted to become a lawyer, I wanted to get invested in trying to fix this system of the education system, because
it's all jacked up.
It was, I always struggled with it. There was always problems, and I saw these problems. I experienced these problems, and you know, the only reason I really was able to get into UT and such a prestigious, you know, university, you know, in Texas, like, I didn't have anything else to do. Yeah, I was doing literally nothing else. I never watched TV or anything. I just fucking worked.
Yeah.
The only outside time I had was like going to the gym for an hour, but I didn't have friends. I didn't go to parties. I was not partying. I wasn't doing anything else. I lived at home with my parents. All of my friends were out playing baseball. They were out living their life, going to college elsewhere. Like, no one was at SAC. No one was there. I was just literally doing that. That was all I had time to do. So that was the only reason I ended up getting good grades. That was the only part of my life I actually had good grades was in community college.
I don't think I ever had really good grades.
That was the only time.
I think I had one semester, Angelina, I made the president's list.
I made Dean's. I made Dean's list.
I felt my first year, I think I made. But bro, that had me in like art and like communications. Like,
oh god.
Of course. My GPA was like a 3.9 or some shit.
Yeah, those classes. So, but
anyway. Hopefully we can fix it. I mean, that's really all you can say is, like, it's not even in our hands. It's like, hopefully the people that are actually up there
I mean, you gotta
can fix it. Like,
you gotta learn to vote for these things. I mean, if you're passionate about them, like,
you really gotta.
I mean, send letters out to these people, governors,
reach out, do whatever.
Senators.
I mean, do what you can, man.
Yeah, I mean, I personally need to be more invested in that myself. I am passionate about the education system, really, truly, just because I struggled so much with it growing up. But yeah, that's mostly why I wanted to hit this thing. You can really just fucking, there's a whole rabbit hole of stuff.
Yeah, you can look it up, man. Why ours is failing, and why our students aren't the best anymore, why we're not the
social,
smartest,
emotional development in students and stuff like that.
Everywhere. I mean,
moving away from a letter grade system, just like how from one number to the next, like, can
boost you by X amount,
or decrease your GPA by a huge ass amount.
It's insane, bro. It's literally crazy.
And that can make or break the percentage point can make or break, like, you know, getting into a certain school or getting a certain grade or whatever it may be. Like, there's a lot of different issues that could take place that we could just try to go back on and learn from. But anyways, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Elijah's on his phone.
I was responding to that text.
Okay.
Anyway.
But yeah, appreciate y'all for tuning in. This episode will be posted on Friday, so make sure you check us out. Let us know, what do you think about the education system? What do you know? How do you feel like it should be changed, revamped? What are some of the issues that you faced? What are some of the positives that you faced in school? What are the things you liked?
Because as much as we went on negatives, there are positives.
There are
the
positives.
Education system. There are ways. There are people that care. People that'll help you. I mean, there's always
absolutely no question.
Especially when you get to college, there's always resources.
There's supplemental instruction.
Yeah.
I had supplemental instruction SI in college that helped me a lot. But yeah, I mean, should it stay this way forever? Should things change?
Should there be changes? Let us know.
Let us know. Talk some shit. If you hate our conversation about
talk about your fucking cutoff.
My cutoff.
Wear
yeah.
Shirt,
yeah. Let us know. Give us your thoughts. We are on all platforms too, so check us out. Yeah. Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
Subscribe.
Subscribe. We're on YouTube as well. Let us know if there's a topic as well if you want us to go over. Feel free to DM us, shoot us a message. We like to spark debate in terms of things that we're invested in, so let us know.
Yep.
And we appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yep.